We are tracking breaking news from Israel's war with Hamas. Qatar, which has been leading negotiations for the release of Israeli hostages held by the militants, announced just last hour that a pause in the fighting will begin tomorrow. The first hostages will be released about 9 hours later. Here's how a spokesperson for Qatar's foreign ministry broke the news. The times given are local to the war zone.
The beginning of the pause will be 7 a.m. Friday, the 24th of November, and it will last, of course, as agreed, for 4 days. And the first batch of civilians to be released from Gaza will be around 4 p.m. of the same day. They will be 13 in number, all women and children.
Around 240 civilian and military hostages are held by Hamas and other groups. Their loved ones have waited anxiously for news of their release.
I don't know what kind of children will come back to us. The trauma, what they saw. And until I see them in my own eyes, I don't believe any lists of names, and I don't believe any news coming today from anywhere. I need to see them in my own eyes. I need to hold my cousin in my arms.
The grief and desperation goes on inside Gaza, and so does the Israeli offensive. These people are desperately searching through rubble of buildings following an Israeli airstrike on the southern city of Rafah. That's an area Israeli authorities had previously declared to be part of a safe zone. There are reports of several deaths, including a number of children, although these remain unconfirmed. Now, Israel says it attacked 300 Hamas targets over the last 24 hours. So for more on this, I want to bring in the CBC's Briar Stewart. She's part of our news team on the ground in the region. She joins us from Tel Aviv this hour. So Briar, the pause in the fighting and first hostage release was meant to happen today. We heard the new schedule being announced by a Qatari official. It's been delayed, and many express fears that the process might break down completely. Can you walk us through what we heard from the Qatari Foreign Ministry and what will happen in terms of the truce and hostage release?
Yes, I think there was, Arthi, a lot of anxiety when it was announced that the deal was going to be delayed. And that's because originally Egypt officials had talked about it being the pause starting today at 10 a.m. Israel never confirmed anything like that, but people expected to see the first group of hostages come out today. And so there was a lot of anxiety. But now we've heard from officials in Qatar that the pause in fighting, which they're calling a humanitarian pause, is going to begin tomorrow at 7 a.m. and that the first group of hostages in Gaza will be released at 4. Now, there's going to be 13. It's expected that there will be 13 that will come out. And then after they are handed over to the Red Cross, you will then have Palestinians who are imprisoned in Israel released. We understand that that group, the list of them anyway, is the majority of them are young men and boys between the ages of 14 and 18. Now, in terms of the hostages, there's been a lot of talk about lists and who will be in that group coming out. We know that the deal talks about children and women. There are more than 30 children in Gaza taken hostage, the youngest being just 10 months old. And it's our understanding that the families of those children will not find out that they're going to be released ahead of time. They're only going to find out afterwards, after they've been handed over to the Red Cross. Obviously, the concern is they don't want to raise people's hopes to then have something happen at the last minute where you know, the people that come out, it was not as planned. So I think they're trying to take a very conservative approach with that. And, you know, there was discussion, the minister, the official rather, from Qatar was asked a lot of questions about why there was this delay. And he had said that to his knowledge, the deal hadn't changed. The agreement was the same way it was when it was originally drafted. Here's some more of his press conference.
The criteria on which to prioritize the hostages was purely humanitarian, as you know, and our focus was on getting the women and children out of harm's way as soon as possible, which is basically what we are doing within this agreement. And we will be going through, hopefully, that the momentum carried by this deal would help us get everybody out in time, and at the same time, of course, lessen the hardship of the people in Gaza through the humanitarian pause that is taking place.
And I think it's important to note that there were some families that were taken hostage altogether, so the children and the parents. So it's very likely that families, if they haven't been split up already, will be split up during this. And as I said, there's just a lot of anxiety here. There's people who have their loved ones who are men, and they know that they're not going to be released, that they're not part of this first round anyway. And people have really mixed emotions. And I think when speaking to relatives, as we have been here, they also say that they don't want to get their hopes up too much because things can happen. This is an active war zone. You have two warring sides. And the official from Qatar kind of alluded to that, saying that people are committed to this deal. They think it's all ready to go. But there are some things that are still unpredictable, and I think we have to watch for that.
And now, of course, Briar, a key part of this deal is also that pause in the fighting to allow for much needed aid to come in. So what are we hearing about the situation today?
Well, that's right. Hundreds of trucks in aid are supposed to come in. That's food, medicine, fuel, which we know is so badly needed. We've heard from aid officials there about how there's not enough fuel to run the water systems, to run sewage, even to keep the communication lines open. We know that the pause in fighting hasn't stopped yet, or started yet, far from it, in fact, because bombardments continued overnight. There were strikes in Rafah, which is a city right near the border with Egypt. In Han Yunis, there were airstrikes and local residents say also artillery strikes. At least 15 people were killed there. That's what officials are saying. And that's an area that's really bursting at the seams because hundreds of thousands of people from the north have fled south where they were told it would be safer. And it is relatively safer, but certainly the Israeli military has signaled that it's going to intensify its operation in the south. But there will be that will be held off, of course, while this pause is going on. And I also want to mention the hospital that we have been following so closely, Al-Shifa. That is where it was surrounded by intense fighting. You had Israel accusing Hamas of using the building as part of their command and control center. We've seen them talk about tunnels, produce what they say is evidence of tunnels and war rooms near the facility. Well, the director of the hospital, Dr. Mohammed Abu al-Samia, he has been detained by Israel's military. It's been reported that he was on his way out from the north in a convoy with patients and medical staff that were being evacuated, and that he was stopped for questioning. And Israel has confirmed that he is still in their custody. And they believe that he would have, they claim that he would have had to have known that there was some kind of activity in the hospital, because they say that, the presence of Hamas should have been obvious. They talked about how the group was using electricity, using space. They say that they found weapons there. These are all things that Israel is claiming. Obviously, I'm not there. We're not able to verify it ourselves right now. But I can tell you that I talked to the director of the hospital several times. I probably have had 6 or 7 conversations with him. And each time I did ask him whether he was seeing fighters in the hospital, was he seeing weapons? Each time he did tell me no. But it has been I haven't been able to get in touch with him for a week, I can tell you that. But now we can confirm that he is in Israel's custody and he is being questioned.
Thank you for the update on all of this, Briar. That is the CBC's Briar Stewart in Tel Aviv.